talk a lot about food and just the way we produce things and trying to feed this world. And a lot of the ways that we do it are not great for the environment. There's also a lot of food waste. And there's an interesting Bloomberg opinion columnist that talks about big food should be ESG's next target, basically just going after the ultra processed food makers.
Should be ESG's first target. Should have been ESG's first target. Because if you want to stop carbon emissions,
right,
you got to go after the beef industry even before you go after the internal combustion engine.
So how do you think about all of this? You know, you've been working in the food industry for a long time. How do you think about it, and what is a better way forward?
Well, it's about diversity. Last year, August, we reached the milestone of 8 billion in population. We know that, and that was one of the reasons, I have a younger daughter. When she was born, not that long ago, 25 years ago, the population was 3.7 billion. Now we're at 8 and we're going to be at 10 billion. So, and that was my idea. And I said, it makes a lot of sense. We know, I think in Vancouver, salmon reached the price of $30 a pound this summer. So traditional protein is going to go higher and higher in price. So why not diversify the protein and use the plant-based, and the question is having manufacturer and processor like me, innovator that takes those protein, the pea protein, all the different sorts of protein, put it in a way, in a form and in a shape that people are accustomed to, because people won't start feeding themselves lentil and chickpea and a thing like this. It's too complicated. And that's what we do. We use traditional sushi, and we make our own snow crab, our own tuna, our own salmon. And I'm really excited for you, Matt, to go try it, because you're going to say, wow, this tastes great. And I feel very proud about what we accomplished. And I think the world is changing. The younger population is voting with their mouth. And I think it's a question of using all our source of protein. That is what we're going to find a solution, not just beef, not just seafood, but using the protein from a variety of sorts. Seaweed is a fantastic source of protein.
All right. So, and the sushi, it's packed full of protein. What's the protein and the calorie value of that sushi, those California rolls?
Calories about 350 calories for eight coin, and it's about traditional sushi is about 8% protein. This is about 4%. So, but most people don't go to the sushi and say, I'm eating there because of protein.
Of course not. Protein. Yeah.
Most people have too much protein in their diet. That's the reality. So I think it's more about nutrition, what you bring nutrition. And I think our product is packed of nutrition. We have all the vitamin D, A, B, etc. that your body needs. So, but most important is what we're offering is convenience. You can have sushi, onigiri, poke bowl at lunch, dinner, snack, have a party with your friend. So having the product available in your freezer and ready in 5 minutes. And it's about giving a choice to the consumer that whenever you want, you can have a product that you like. Like I said earlier, 20,000 sushi, 5,000 poke bowl restaurant, there's a market for it.
So Yves, as demand, let's assume that this takes off, and as demand picks up, can you keep it at the cost level that you have now? Or will, just like with kind of regular food, it just feels like, as you said, the growing population, like demand just has gotten out of control. And as the developed world has a much more, the developing world has more of a developed diet, like, right, there's more demand of that traditional food thing. So the cost, I'm just curious about the process and the cost as demand ramps up.
What are the main inputs? Peas?
The rice comes from California. All our vegetables are from British Columbia. So we're trying to buy local as possible, but we have a 34,000 square feet facility in Vancouver over here. We can produce 4,000 roll an hour. So that's a fair amount of volume, but our plan is to open a factory or a processing facility in the US, one in Asia and one in Europe. So your question, Carol, is more about ingredient as you increase the demand.
Right.
Well, the beauty with root vegetable is you can grow more. From I'm not anti beef, I'm not anti fish, but it's not a logical way to grow your protein. It takes 18 months to raise a cattle, and half of the you feed it more than what you get at the end. So versus the plant-based protein, that's why it makes so much sense.
Even with climate change making it sometimes more problematic or difficult.
Depend what you're growing, Carol. You see, if you're growing more corn or more wheat or more soy, but there's a lot of places in Asia, for example, that's where the root vegetable conscious. It's all over Asia, but rice, there's lots of room to grow rice, and you need to eat something. At one point, people asked me why, in my previous business, why are you using wheat or soy, etc. Well, I said, I don't use milk, I don't use dairy, I don't use egg. You need to eat food, something. You can't just live with water and air. And I think the food we grow, the food we use at Conscious is very good, and yes, it's sustainable.
Interesting.
All right, we're going to leave it on that note. Really, really fascinating. And I do feel like more and more we continue to see the food space slowly being disrupted, if you will.
Yeah. Well,
right?
And I also, the deeper I look into it, the more problems I have with the way our food is produced or farmed or caught. And as I said, salmon's one of the biggest conundrums, because I don't want to support industrial fishing and I don't want to support the factory farming of salmon, but I love salmon.
There was just a story, did you see it in the New York Times, about the fate of Alaska's king salmon and starving orcas? The orcas don't have enough food, and so they're trying to figure out what to do, and they're thinking about maybe that we have to stop fishing them, but then you've got, folks that rely on it for their livelihood.
You can't. They won't stop.
Oh, I don't know. It's just tricky. Yves, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Yves Potvin, hopefully you'll come back soon and give us an update on the business. President and founder of Conscious Foods, joining us on Zoom from Vancouver, British Columbia. Yeah, food's a tough one. What do you say? 8,000 people right now, and it's growing. Like, how do you feed everybody ultimately?
8 billion, he said.
8 billion, excuse me.
If only it were 8,000, we'd be in the catbird seat.
8 billion. This is Bloomberg.
Now, your company news headlines on Bloomberg Radio.
And from Bloomberg World Headquarters in New York, I'm Denise Pellegrini. As we've been reporting, Amazon's injury-plagued warehouse operations go on trial, you might say. We get more from Bloomberg's Steve Rappaport.
Denise, Washington State's Board of Industrial Insurance Appeals is beginning to consider citations against Amazon. The State Department of Labor and Industry says Amazon pushes workers too hard by setting onerous performance targets that inevitably get people hurt. The Washington hearings are just the beginning of a widening government crackdown on Amazon's safety record that's arguably the most intrusive scrutiny in the company's history. Amazon contests the claims and will be calling its own witnesses, including warehouse employees and ergonomics experts. Denise?
Thank you, Steve. Bloomberg's Steve Rappaport reporting there. Elon Musk has chosen the new logo for Twitter, replacing that blue bird with an X. Part of the billionaire's vision of transforming it into the everything app, you might say. And Bloomberg's Peter Elstrom says Musk getting a lot of attention for tweeting about the changes and has a thing for the letter X.
He also runs SpaceX, the rocket company. At Tesla, they've got a Model X, and one of his earliest companies was called X also. This was the predecessor to PayPal. What he's trying to do now kind of harkens back to those early efforts where he wants to evolve Twitter from just a messaging platform. He wants to be able to do payments and do audio and video and those sorts of things.
And that's Bloomberg's Peter Elstrom reporting there. And get ready to pay more for your pizza. Domino's plans to hike prices by about 4% in the current quarter, and prices of Domino's pizza going up another 2% in the fall. And those are some of the company stories we're following for you. I'm Denise Pellegrini.
You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Messer and Tim Stenevec on Bloomberg Radio.
Come on. Come on.
Since you've been gone. I actually don't know the rest of the words.
What did
It's
I
a great
miss?
song. It's a great song. Who is that? Kelly Clarkson or
Yeah,
Avril Lavigne? Or
No, I think it's Kelly, right?
I don't know.
Oh, no, wait. Yeah.
It's a very good song. And we've been missing Doug Kirchner all last week, right?
Doug Krisner?
Yeah.
Krisner.
What'd
We
you
were
say?
speculating if he was in the south of France or if he was
You should have seen the scenarios we were creating.
doing some research on the ancient pygmy tribes.
The south of
down
France,
in-
we had you in like a smoking jacket.
I'm sorry to disappoint. I was here on the East Coast.
loafers,
Yeah, I just
little
kind of
crests on them.
He was at the Foreign Press Club in Bangkok.
no, didn't do any of it.
You stayed here?
Yeah, I was
Staycation?
local. I pretty much just took some time off.
A little heads up would have been nice next time.
I
Chris.
figured you
I
were
thought you
romancing the
knew.
star.
I had no idea.
We're all
That
like,
didn't
"Where's
tell you.
Krisner?
It
Where's
just one day
Krisner?"
didn't show up.
That's exactly.
Typical.
Exactly. Oh, I've seen that before.
So what
from
did I
him.
miss? Anything?
China, hey, more stimulus. Hey, is it coming?
Well, they have this Politburo meeting, and there was a readout of the meeting, and it's
Yeah.
kind of a very secretive confab. But one of the things that was kind of disclosed is they're going to address the problems in the real estate market right now. The property market has been a real big problem, not just in terms of
Yeah.
the way in which it's impacted individual consumers and their own balance sheets, but I think the way that it's more broadly impacted sentiment. Sentiment has been just such a difficult thing to turn around. And so they're trying to address this. Brian and I, Brian, right? The
Who?
guy that
Oh,
you were
yeah,
talking
yeah,
to
yeah.
last week. We were talking on our...
He was here doing his job.
We were talking on our pre-show meeting about
Yeah.
the fact that there have been so far about 8 to 10 incremental steps that authorities in Beijing have taken to address some of the economic weakness. There hasn't been a big program that's been rolled out, but there have been these smaller measures, and taken collectively in aggregate,
Right.
maybe they're beginning to have an impact.
Well, we've talked about that. It feels like they finally are backing off technology and kind of letting it do its thing. But I always feel like, Doug, it's two steps forward once. Like, something happens and then they're like, wait a minute.
That's the big risk
Right?
here, and I think that's one of the things that the market is most concerned about, that you get maybe some kind of change at the top, but there's always a risk at the margin that there's going to be a regulatory tweak or so,
Yeah.
and that may really kind of take the wind out of the sails of anything that they're trying to create.
And
That
that's-
is a real risk.
The NASDAQ Golden Dragon China index did rally today.
It was up, more than 4%, 4.3% today?
It's something that Matt watches very closely.
What is that, like tech stocks out of China?
These are
it's not just
ADRs.
tech, it's-
They're some property stuff, but it's a lot of tech.
Auto.
Auto, yeah.
I'm looking to try and figure out the etymology of the Krisner family name. So I assumed it would be a German thing, right? like Kritzner, is that from like Kreutzner, like
So
cross,
it
like
was
Christian?
actually it was KN, Knizner, which is more Austrian rather than German. So when they came to the United States at the turn of the last Knizner,
Yeah.
So that's
But you don't know what the origin
no, that's
is.
as far as I go back.
What does it
with
mean?
No, I have no idea.
All right.
Do you know?
No, I thought it was like something
I'm
to do
really
with
gonna miss this
Kreutzen.
guy. You know,
I know. I
this is
believe
your
it-
last day with Carol.
It's my last day filling in for Tim Stenevec.
Okay.
Now, I'm still going to, I hope, spend a lot of time with Carol Massar in my life.
Okay.
You know, whether that's at
I
work
think she does too, but I'm
or
going to
home,
miss these
on
interactions.
the boat.
I know. I have to say, no one's like you, Matt. You just keep me on my toes, or I just shake my head, or I'm like, what?
It's been great. It's been great. I think the two of you having this time to work together, and I've enjoyed this, and I hope you can come back and be a part of this handoff, right? We do the Business Week
It
to
is kinda
Daybreak
fun.
Asia handoff.
Matt
Yeah.
just goes
Maybe
different
I'll do
places.
that because I do plan on, I'm going to come on the show with Carol and Tim. Whenever something
On
really
Fridays.
grinds my
But he's
gears,
not here on Fridays.
I'm going to rant.
Think about an auto segment for this guy. Speaking of grind your
We've
gears.
done it already.
I think he's...
We've
he would-
created
he's-
it.
It's so logical.
What's Matt Miller driving?
Right,
We do
right.
it every Friday.
I think that's so important.
Picked up a new car this morning.
What kind is it?
Alfa Romeo
Oh,
Tonale.
jeez.
We're all living in Matt Miller's
Man.
world. All right, Doug. Don't go anywhere. That does it. Matt Miller, love you. And I know
Thank
you're
you.
still going to be
Thank you.
here. Daybreak Asia starts right now.
The great sci-fi art of the mid-20th century teased a vision of the future with one distinct element in common: a life for humans in outer space. Whether vacationing on an exotic new planet or commuting to the moon for business, space travel seemed like it was just around the corner. Yet here we are, a half-century later, and only about 500 human beings have ever left the bounds of Earth's atmosphere. But thanks to a set of ambitious private companies betting on the promise of space tourism, that long-awaited future could be here sooner than we think. For most of the history of spaceflight, governments have been the prime force behind nearly every aspect, from planning to funding to crew selection. But as early as the 1980s, proposals for commercial space tourism began to emerge, along with innovative solutions for getting people there, such as the wild concept of sticking a 74-person passenger cabin in the cargo bay of a NASA space shuttle. Although various non-astronauts have been selected for missions over the years, true space tourism